To me, there is always strength in mystery and work. I would rather someone ask questions than tell them what to think, because that's all marketing does. It tells you what to think, it tells you who to be and what to buy, and if you buy it, that's who you'll be. The conglomerate of images that I feel we need to question are the ones we see every day. And you almost aren't allowed time away from them. Like any screen we see, they're there. And they're in between the things that we actually want to see. And they're kind of the normalization of the binary, of the system in which we understand how to identify someone. What their gender is, how old they are, this construct of race.
Also, the selection of figures is very compelling, it's very diverse. How did you work on that selection of figures? How did you determine who you wanted to embody?
They're mythologies that are annotated by history. We have so many reference points for them that they are real in this aspirational way, and yet they kind of couldn't exist as this, right? And so we either need to take them off the pedestal or make the pedestal bigger.
Anti-Icon presents a selection of 10 historical and mythological figures. These are all figures that Martine selected for their beauty, their strength, their perseverance, their ability to lead mankind, but also they all share a history of violence and overcoming difficulties. In her practice, Martine borrows from the language of advertising, and presenting this exhibition on JCDecaux bus shelters, which is a platform traditionally used for advertisements, felt like a really fascinating experiment to see how it would resonate with the public.
One thing that you and I have discussed at length, which I think is really interesting, is that the project sort of evolved because of the pandemic, and you had a certain initial vision for how these figures would be represented, which shifted in terms of the materials you used and everything.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about that process.
I think at the time I was looking for meaning, and I was looking for a spiritual practice. And in looking to these kind of idols, I found a void in terms of meaning, but so much imagery. Beautiful, powerful imagery. And imagery that's existed in so many media forms, especially the movies and fashion. I had this vision of this ensemble, and it was summer, and the sun felt so good. I just felt like I was coming into my body simultaneously in the project. And then also there's something so timeless about just a body. And it almost became a rule that you're gonna use materials that you have and do what you've done since you were a child to instill this sense of play in, turning anything into something else. That felt even more important, that I was using garbage or something that was recycled, or this kind of foraging mentality. The excuse of looking for materials was its own practice. And there was just something charming about making something that didn't have to last. These two things are just fastened together by rope, and that rope I might have to give back. But for that day, I got to play as this person. I wanted to make sure everyone felt dynamically different, right? Especially since I couldn't really rely the same way I have in previous bodies of work on makeup or kind of these heavy costumes. So it was about posture. A lot of the poses are just taken from the source. Aphrodite is literally historically referential, which I think the art world loves, because they get to point backwards and they get to look at these kind of European standards of what people look at in museums and say it's relevant and it's important. I think that's partly what fascinates me about these consumable images, the ones that we throw away after a month, the ones that get taken down because the next season of shoes comes out. In a way, they have as much to do with these positions of culture, and they touch more people. They're more participatory in people's lives, and in that sense can be the cause of like a cultural change much more quickly and in a less elitist way.